Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another webinar at Harmonic Arts. We're excited to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about winter immunities. How do we fortify ourselves in the winter? I'm your host, Yarrow, and I'm just going to actually stop my share. Actually, no, we'll leave it on. But tonight, we're going to try to go for about an hour. But before we do, I want to just make sure that you have everything working properly. And if you've not done any of these webinars before, just a quick thing on Teams here. You've got a Q&A at the top. You can add questions to the Q&A and we'll go through questions and answers at the end. And then there's also a chat function. So you can go into the chat and you can just chat amongst yourselves or let us know. So let's just practice, make sure the chat is working. Let me know what you're drinking tonight. And if you want to add to the chat where you're coming from. So just let us know where you're coming from and what you're having. So I'm in the unceded territory of the Comox First Nations here in Cumberland. I'm actually at Harmonic Arts Headquarters. So at our home base, this is where we make all of our product and just a really awesome place nestled into this little mountain town on Vancouver Island. And I'm drinking chaga tea. We have chaga tea on tap here, basically. One of our staff members is an advocate and always has a big urn of chaga going, especially in the winter. So that's what I'm having today. But I was thinking about, I got a bottle of our immune strength tincture. So I was thinking of making a chaga immune strength cocktail. So I think I might just add a little bit of immune strength and make it super immune chaga. And that's something I love to do, is actually just kind of, how do we fortify and upgrade our drinks? Whether that's start with a tea, add an elixir, add a tincture, add some superfoods, add some other herbal powders. How do we make these kind of blends? Maybe add some fat, honey, whatever that might be. So let us know in the chat what you are drinking and where you're coming from. Oh, the meeting chat is muted. I'm going to unmute that. Unmute the meeting chat. Okay. I think I've done that. Let me know. Yeah, it looks like Alan is typing. Okay, good. It's working. So this is recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording in a follow-up email, or you'll get access to this. Also, just as a little bit of as we get going, know that we keep all of our webinars on a webinar button at Harmonic Arts. So if you ever want to go back and watch some of our old webinars, we've done a bunch of different ones on mushrooms and immunity, on stress, on focus, on different ways to support our digestive health and make different mocktails and elixirs and so much more. So yeah, it looks like the chat is working. Alan's coming from Calgary, joining us. Anybody else, where are you coming from? And are you drinking anything special? Maybe a pre-Christmas mocktail or cocktail or chaga tea like myself? Okay. So just to get going, we're going to try, like I said, we're going to try to do this in about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then add some space for question and answers. So use a little Q&A at the end, and we'll go from there. So first off, what is like winter immunity? Why does this topic even matter? I mean, why are we even thinking about fortifying our immune system in the winter? Well, typically in the fall, as the seasons kind of transition, we start to get more of these pathogens come in. In the winters when our energy is the lowest, when we're most depleted. Right now, we're going into the pre-Christmas, pre-solstice time where lots of parties, lots of festive things, and it's quite often that people get sick around this time of year. We often get sick around changes of season. And then in the deep winter, it's common that we have more deep immune stuff come up. I was just talking to a friend today, and he is very commonly finds that his GI tract or digestive health really flares up in the winter. He's really good in the summer, but then all of a sudden the winter flares up. And part of that has to do with his immune system becomes compromised. So we're going to look at this from two levels today. We're going to look at it from deep and top and surface level immunity, and how do we support both? All right, looks like we got some folks coming in, drinking some black tea. Someone's tuning in from Crossfield, from Calgary. All right, from a few different places. Awesome. So as we get going, I'm going to just start with the Harmonic Arts story to begin with. If you don't know our company, which you probably do because you're tuned into our webinar, we started really as a little farmer's market booth. Me and my wife are both clinical herbalists, and we wanted to really bring plant medicine in a bigger way. So we started making tinctures and tea blends and elixir blends, these herbal lattes. And pretty soon we found ourselves in a couple of local health food stores and just kind of grew from there. So now, that was in 2008 when we first started, again, at a farmer's market. And, when we first started as a small business, our community futures that we were trying to work with, they were like, there's no way your business is going to be viable. There's no way we're not going to give you any funding to support you. And we're like, no, we know we've got something good here. And truth be told, we're now one of the most successful ventures that Community Futures ever funded, which is really great. We now are a national brand across the country and really work with trying to bring plant medicine in the highest form possible. Easy to use, high quality herbs, vertical transparency, both in our supply chain, but also supporting in a business that gives back. So we do 1% for the planet. We've done this for a long time, really supporting our local forest initiatives to save second growth forests and to support ecosystem health and restoration, as well as we are a B Corp. And if you don't know what B Corp is, it's something you should become aware of, because B Corps are really better businesses that are trying to be the change in the world in a lot of ways. They often, what we were vetted for was, what is our supply chain management? Who are the farmers and the people we're working with? How do we work with our team and our staff? What is our outward facing impact? What is our, I guess, how much of a impact do we have on waste and waste management? What kind of health programs do we have for our staff? And how do we, in an overall, support healthy ecosystem as a business overall? And that's something that we've now qualified for and are pretty proud to shout out that we are a B Corp. So anyway, a little bit about us. We are on the unceded territory of the Comox First Nations. This is a beautiful land of plenty. There's a lot of nature here to inspire our team and to really support us in tuning into healing energy for our planet. And that's why we're here. Our company could be anywhere in the world or anywhere in Canada anyway. Probably would be better distribution from different places. But the reality is, here on Vancouver Island, we have just this beautiful ecosystem that is fairly intact that we're able to help nurture and support and get inspiration from. So tonight we're here to talk about seasonal wellness. And I just wanted to, B Corp is a big deal. It is. It's been a big thing. So it took us about a year to get through it, and it could have taken us longer, but we had one team member who really just sort of put all of her gusto, made it her North Star to get us certified and get all the information from our team and from our vendors. And it had us look at a bunch of our business practices. And I think, to me, that was just the best thing. And it fits right in with our core values of continual improvement and getting to the heart of the matter. We believe that business should be the change in the world. But enough about that. We want to talk about you and your health, and how do we support our health during the winter months. So the first thing I want to mention is just from a holistic lens. Again, as a clinical herbalist, I like to consider our health as our mind, body, spirit, and our emotional health. So right now we see a lot of people start to get SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, in the winter. So how do we take some time to just tune into seasonal wisdom? If you look to nature, all the plants lose their leaves. Their brain or their nourishment is all in their roots, right? So they send all that energy back into the roots and they slow down. So a big thing for us is to slow down. So not just plants, many animals hibernate, many animals slow down. I had a friend the other day send me some messages like, what can I forage in Northern Ontario at this time of year? And I was like, well, the elk and the deer, they might eat some of the intercambium layers of bark, but most animals have foraged and stocked up what they need for the winter, and they're slowing down at this time. So there's not a lot out there in that sense, which means we should mirror this in our internal world too. Most of us living in first world situations, often in urban settings, the lights are on all the time. The temperature inside is 70 degrees. This does not tune in with our internal wisdom, seasonal wisdom. So just top high level, how do we tune back into seasonal wisdom? How do we tune into being more restful during this time of year? Allowing yourself, if you need it, a sick day or some time off, and just sleep and be restful. One of the things I find is that because it gets darker this time of year, I have a red light app on my computer that modifies my screen to be more of a red light. And I find this to be really useful. Same with my phone, so that the light doesn't have that bright daylight of the blue kind of spectrum. So candle light, how can we have even switching our light bulbs to lower wattage, or have that evening kind of red light ambiance? Sometimes I'll wear red light glasses when I'm on a computer, and just things like this. What are things that we could do to mirror the outside world, so we're not turned on like it's summer and our body wisdom is out of sync with the seasonal wisdom? I like to think about a gratitude practice during this time of year. What am I appreciative of? This is a time to kind of reflect and go inside. So often I'll do at solstice, and which we're coming up on, I'll do a list of all the things that were wins and challenges in my life over the year. And then what's the feeling and momentum I want to build on that? So some kind of gratitude practice. So I have a lot of gratitude right now for all the things I was able to do throughout the year, through the summer months, and just holding space for that, knowing that those seasons will shift and come again, is a really good practice for this time of year. Also, as digestion is the seat of our health, it's slow down in our digestion, right? Just slow down, chew slower, do a little bit more intermittent fasting, take time and breaks away. Yes, we're going to have a merry, festive, feasting season, but also many cultures ate a lot less in the winter, a little more calorie restriction, a little more sleep, a little less activation. And this might go against your intuition if you live in a high-paced urban environment, but your body will be thankful for it. And I promise you, if you don't slow down, your health will tell you and slow you down for you. Anybody ever been sick and they're sort of got an aha moment of, wow, I did really need to slow down. Unfortunately, I was forced to slow down and be sick. One of the reasons we do get sick is partly to slow our body down a little bit. And so, yes, it might be pathogens that come in, but often it's slowing down and just dropping into being present again. It's very hard to not be present when you're sick. So yeah, practice that before we get sick. So winter's an opportunity for us to tune back into ourselves. And that's really one of the main things I would say at a high level to just look at with this time of year. So what are some of the lifestyle habits we can do that? Well, I said get enough sleep. It's also really important to get outside in the daytime. Vitamin D only stores for 90 days. So you slowly titrate off the vitamin D you had from summer months. Come January, February, most of us are pretty low in vitamin D. And yeah, we can take vitamin D supplements, but if we get out and do a little bit of forest bathing during the daytime, maybe we go skiing, maybe we get up the mountain, whatever that is, get a little bit of sunshine on you, collect a bit of vitamin D on your skin. It makes a world of difference in the winter to help deal with kind of winter blues that might come along. Remember to stay active. Even though we want to slow down and maybe it's intuitive to slightly hibernate, stay active, get your lymphatic system moving. A lot of us nowadays have screens for our work, and that means that we're sitting a lot. And so sitting, I've heard, is the new smoking. Not sure if you've heard that yet, but sitting is the new smoking. It used to be smoking was bad. I actually think sitting might be worse for you than maybe not. I don't know. The court's still out on that one, but if you find yourself sitting a lot, it's important to either have an app or some kind of trigger or reminder that says, get up and move your body. Try to do a daily practice, go for a walk. Maybe that's go for a swim, if that's the kind of thing. Get a gym membership, spend some time being active. One of my very, very, very favorite things, yeah, somebody said it in there is, what about ice bathing? Hot cold therapy. Oh yeah, I love this. One of my just favorite things to do is to get in the ice or to get in the snow and roll around naked or in, decent enough underwear, depending on where you are. But yeah, the concept is if we get cold, our bodies, actually, if you let your body get cold for, I think it's about 1.5 to 3 minutes, it resets the mitochondria and actually activates the body and energizes and is a huge boost to the immune system. So most of us can't handle 3 minutes in ice. I'll tell you, it is tough unless you get practiced, and that is to slow your breath down. Just most of the time when we get into cold water, we go. I know when I first started doing cold showers, that was my first one. I'd be like, okay, I could do this, I could do this. And then if I just started to practice turning the shower onto cold and just slow the breath down. How even can I breathe in the cold? Amazing stuff. Really good for our immune system, resets us. And like I said, at a mitochondria level, it like rebirths us. So I highly, highly recommend hot and cold. The other thing about hot and cold is you get warm and you get cold. You know you can get warm again. Although it is nice to finish on cold, you expand and contract the cells. This works out your body at a cellular level. It boosts your lymphatic system and helps to move and drain out toxins. So just from a base level of keeping your immune system strong, hot cold is a massive biohack in that sense. It's a really good way to keep you healthy, young, supple. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I have heard that it definitely puts more years on your life. It helps to extend or not decrease the length of your telomeres, which are kind of what a biomarker of your biological age. So yeah, do a little bit of hot cold. I'd say it's as important as brushing your teeth. Maybe not, but you know, it's up there for me. It's like, how do I do some body kind of contraction, expansion, and get used to a little bit of that. So seasonal cleansing and detoxing is another piece that I would look to. Now, what I want to avoid, even in seasonal cleansing, is if I'm immunocompromised or low chi, low energy, then don't do a cleanse. It's really important to only do cleansing when you're built up and strong, when your body is in good health. If you start to cleanse when you're weak and immune, you can really start to compromise and get more cleansing crisis and actually make that immune cascade even lower. So just be careful with that. But doing a little bit of a intermittent fasting kind of cleanse is what I like to do this time of year, where I'll go for periods of time not eating. Typically for me, that's the morning. I'll go to about 2 in the afternoon some days till maybe noon other days, but just try to have this intermittent fasting time. Or if I do eat in the morning, I'll take no meals in the midday till dinner. When you don't use your digestive system for a good chunk of time, you rest your digestive system, it allows your body to replenish other areas. So we might think, oh, if we're eating, we're getting calories and we're building energy in our body. Well, if we're constantly churning the stomach and using the digestive function, we're actually depleting the body a little bit by not giving it time to rest and allow our body to turn on secondary functions outside of digestion to support our overall health, whether that be liver and detoxification, blood filtration, lymphatic, white blood cell build, bone marrow build, all these things that support our overall health. They're not about digestion. Digestion is the base of our health, but it's important to take breaks from it. So also something in the winter to help us is to eat antioxidant-rich foods. What are those? Typically, all of your colors in foods are antioxidant-rich. So they're all your flavonoid groups, like the red in tomato and the, I guess the orange in oranges, right? Those are sort of more typical. Little quick, fun, unknown fact by most is, did you know that ketchup, yeah, I'm talking ketchup, not Heinz, ketchup, was originally a winter food to help give us more antioxidants during the winter months. So when you ferment tomatoes and when you dry and ferment tomatoes, you make the lycopene, which is a flavonoid group in the tomatoes, more bioavailable. So for the winter blues, they would ferment tomatoes and make a tomato saucy type thing to give them more antioxidants. And this to me is just a perfect example of what we've done from old ancient wisdom, and we've turned it into Heinz ketchup, where the number one ingredient is sugar. And then there's a lot of dye and stuff. But Hawthorne ketchup, I see in the comments, sounds pretty good. I will say we've made some of our own fermented ketchups in the past, and they don't turn out bright red. They have a little bit of a brownish red color to them. And that in itself totally turned off my teenager. He was like, he's a big ketchup guy. And I was like, oh, well, we'll make you ketchup because we love it. And so we ended up having to eat most of that ketchup, but it's pretty good. So I highly recommend that. We've made mushroom ketchup. That type of thing is good too. Anyway, The point of that is really, how do we get antioxidants into our diet at this time of year? One of the best ways is fermented foods. If you look at what cultures did, always the idea is they cultured their food during the winter months. Cultured food is perfect. Kimchi, sauerkraut, any of the summer stored energy. How do we nourish ourselves with that in the winter? And that might be broths and soups and stuff like that. What's unintuitive, in my opinion, is if it's cold outside, to eat a leafy green salad. It might taste good, it might be good for us, but in the winter, it's not the ideal food. It's telling our body the wrong thing. So how do we eat seasonally? What do we choose seasonally? In that sense, soups and broths and cooked vegetables, steamed vegetables or baked vegetables is something that I really like. So that would be my invitation. How do you make more hearty food during this time of year to nourish you at a core level? Also, again, those ferments. It's good any time of year, but definitely in the winter, and this happens a lot over the Christmas season, is a lot of processed foods, lots of processed meats, lots of processed, well, candies and treats and things like that. I would attempt to look at what you're putting in your body. Is this overly processed? Obviously, this time of year, we're going to be attracted to more of the preservative foods. So just being careful to kind of choose best diet and be more conscious, because this is the time where your immune system needs that extra support. Avoid stress, burnout. Don't overdo it. Don't try to overachieve during this time of year. Again, how can we say no and give ourselves more space to slow down? What is it that we don't need to commit to, and how can we nourish ourselves? Can you pick up a good book? Can you go to your local library and take a few things out and just sit in the evenings doing that versus overworking or even overstressing? Sometimes when I watch shows, they're stressful. They leave me like, whoa. So how do we slow down and get more into that semi-hibernated state? Okay, take breaks from your social media, from all the anxiety forming things. Just nourish yourself. This is a time to build your body during the winter. So take some time to do that. Okay, what is our immune system? Where are we going to take this? And so basically our immune system is a whole aspect of the body. It is not just one organ like the liver or the kidneys. It involves a lot of the things like the whole lymphatic system. So whether that's lymph vessels, but also tonsils and our appendix is part of our immune system in that sense. The spleen is where we kind of filter and nourish our blood and build antibodies, but also our bone marrow. That's where a lot of our white blood cells are built. Our mucous membranes, all the protective coatings, the hairs on our body and our skin is all part of the immune system. So when we think of the immune system and how do we nourish our immune system, remember that it's not just golden seal to stimulate mucous membranes and kill bacteria. It's not just echinacea to get the white blood cells activated. Now, we're going to talk about some of those herbs in a bit, but the reality is we got to think about our whole body. Our whole body is part of our immune system. In Chinese medicine, they have this thing called Wei Qi, which is defensive qi, and is your outer protective defensive coating. Many of the hairs, the mucous membranes, the skin, this is all part of that defensive protective coating. Now, before we understood microbiology and all these aspects of the body and what they did and their function, a lot of cultures considered getting a sick or a cold as like evil spirits or evil wind. Now, of course, we know better than that now, but maybe there is some truth to the evil wind. It's allowing something into the body that is basically a pathogen of some form. So now we consider that might be bacteria, virus, even fungus. But there is something about the pathogens are biome that doesn't align with our biome or is causing us some kind of inflammation, some kind of cascade of immunological response. So it might look like evil wind. And sometimes somebody might say something, or we might feel overstressed or overworked, and we're almost allowing that in. So it almost comes in like that. Okay. So we want to talk about our surface level and our deep level of immune system, because these are two different things and we totally would work with them in different levels. Right now I'm taking an immune depth tincture, which is more for that deep immune stuff. When we first get affronted by a pathogen, it starts on our surface level, right? So our very first thing, when we put things in our mouth, they hit our stomach acid. Well, actually, really, we have bacteria in our mouth that help to break those down. We have enzymes in our mouth that help to break that down. But eventually, it hits the stomach acid, and that is designed to kill all kinds of pathogenic bacteria, right? To stop things from getting into our system that we don't want. Same thing on our skin. We've got a fat layer, which also has a biome on it, and that protects us from outside infection. Think about if you have an open wound and it gets infected very easily versus your skin doesn't get infected unless you have something internal, like let's just say you start to create like eczema, psoriasis, these kind of things, chaps, that or a viral load, which might create like cold sores or that kind of thing. But typically, our skin infection would come from an outside open space. Anyway, our skin and our hair follicles on the skin are all part of that. So seasonal and surface level immunity issues are all short-term issues. They're usually basically surface pathogens and their coughs and colds, and we might use herbal allies like our Echinacea golden seal usnea. Whereas deep level stuff is when it gets deeper into the system, when it gets to the lower deep lung, when we've gone from a surface level cold where we're coughing or to, kind of those deep lung stuff, that's when we need to get into deeper herbs. We need to start to work with deeper support. We might be doing more of those steam baths. We might be doing more of the like lung tonics. We might be doing a little more of that kind of stuff. And that's where like bronchitis from cough and cold turns into bronchitis. This can also be chronic illness, right? Long term, if we have biome issues, let's just say we've taken too many antibiotics or we don't have a good quality microbiome, this will start to eventually create this deeper, longer term, getting infected, having longer lasting colds, and we get this deep level of immunity that we need to work on. Remember that your biome or your flora in your gut and on your skin, this is your true immune system. The white blood cells and all the lymphatic tissue, that's like backup to help move things out of the system and fight off pathogens that have got too far in. But really, supporting a proper microbiome is one of the best things we can do for our health. Hence the ferments, hence all those kind of things. But allies from the herbal world, we might be looking to our medicinal mushrooms, like reishi and chaga and turkey tail, or we might be looking to herbs like astragalus, or even goji berry has a good deep immune. Many of the Chinese tonics, but also things like elecampane, which is a lung tonic, right? These are some of the ones we're going to look to. Okay, so with that out of the way, we got deep level, we got surface level. We're going to talk about surface level immune herbs first. You've all been through coughs and colds. You know the cascade of how herbal medicine or how a cold gets, right? Whether that's I get headachy or a little sore throat or a little bit of congestion and all of it. And I know, or maybe I'm just really tired and irritable. This is where it starts. And often we get into that first level of mucous membrane, and then, ooh, okay, either a fever breaks out or we start to get a little bit more congested and we can feel it. And then we start to get productive mucus. And then classically, sometimes it'll go from a light runny nose to a thick, and then it'll go back to this kind of unproductive cough where it's just like nothing's coming out and it's thicker, right? So we know this cascade. We want to usually use surface level immune herbs right at the beginning of this, right when we start to get sick. And so echinacea is a great example of something that I would use either before getting sick or right at the very beginning. Once I have deep into a sickness, it's not the best herb. Although if I do want to use it for surface level immunity, I want to use a tincture. The reason I'm going to choose a tincture is because echinacea, when you extract it in alcohol, you pull out all the polyphenols and you pull out all of the kind of active against bacteria straight up aspects. So I would say an echinacea tincture is great to be taking this time of year. if people around us are getting sick, and or if we start to get sick ourselves, say we're doing a dropper full, maybe twice a day, we might want to double or triple that when we start to get sick. So this is one that gently stimulates the immune system. There's been a number of studies done on echinacea, and I guess one of the earliest ones in the Commission E, they thought echinacea didn't work after 40 days. But then they read the study, it was in German, and they realized that they stopped taking it after 30 days, and it actually still worked 10 days later. They were still seeing immune support. So it's something that is cumulative in our system, and that we can use over a period of time during the winter months. I know that my dad used to make a product for Wild Rose called BEVC, and it was beta carotene, echinacea, and vitamin C. Great, something you just take all the time. They don't make that anymore, but taking echinacea daily is one of those ones we can do. Vitamin C, carotenoids, the beta carotene is those flavonoids. You can eat that in your food. Same with the vitamin C, but the echinacea is something you may want to be taking as a supplement during those winter months, especially if people around you are getting sick. This is one of the things it does is it stimulates macrophage activity, and it stimulates white blood cells to be more active, more alert, almost like wakes them up. It says, okay, let's kind of start looking for some pathogens here and make sure we can sort of hit this before it becomes a bigger problem. I think of echinacea as one of the ones we like to use as a guiding herb in many of our blends, because as a guide, it is almost like that higher level awareness for the immune system. So we put it in our cold defense, we put it in our throat spray, and it's in our defense tea. These are all kind of, it ends up being that kind of leader herb that helps to support all of the other herbs that work in different ways to support the immune system. So echinacea is probably top, one of the best ones. Plus, if you live in Canada, it's fairly easy to grow echinacea. So you could tune into it, and or you could look to your local health food stores or Harmonic Arts online and get the best quality echinacea tincture from Harmonic Arts. Of course, there are lots of other ones on the market. I'll just say that I know we use really high quality organic roots, and we make it super strong with the best small batch tincture making. And it looks pretty. That's right. Echinacea is beautiful. I highly recommend, if you're tuning in with a herb and you can grow it, even if you don't use the herb that you're growing as your medicine, it makes the medicine you're taking more potent. What I mean by this is that there is a psychosomatic aspect to healing. If I understand echinacea, if I grow it, if I hang out with it a bit more, when I take it, it actually, all of my connection to echinacea is part of what I take. So I'm actually adding to that healing energy. So it's just something to think about. Take it or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt. But I find by having a direct relationship with a plant, I am that much more connected to it when I take it as medicine. Even if it's not the exact same plant I took, maybe it's a bottle I bought in a health food store, but wow, there's something about the magic in that. I'll leave it there. Golden seal. Again, here's another one that my relationship with golden seal was, my mom had a farm for golden seal, about 3 acres of golden seal, and spent a bunch of time harvesting and processing and connecting with this plant. And to me, that relationship comes with me when I take golden seal. The other relationship that comes with me when I take golden seal is my mom would always, when I was a kid, have this bottle of yellow tincture, and it was the worst tasting tincture. So I have some PTSD around taking golden seal as a kid. I'd be like, no, mom, I'm not sick. I swear I'm not sick. And then she'd feed me the golden seal. I'd be like, ah. It does taste bitter. It is strong, but it's one of the best antibacterial herbs we know of. It's got a chemical called berberine in it. And the berberine is a strong immunostimulating alkaloid. It helps to stimulate the mucous membranes, so we have more productive catarrh. And so in allopathic medicine, there's often this thought to like shut down the coughing and the mucous membranes. In holistic medicine, we actually want to have more productive mucus to move out pathogens. Think of mucus when you blow snot out of your nose or when you cough up phlegm. You're actually, all that phlegm, you don't want that in your system. You're trying to, your body is using it as a weapon, almost as a defensive weapon, to protect and keep pushing good, clean mucus out of the system. That's what we want to do. We actually want to increase the production and move out catarrh. So golden seal does a great job of strengthening the mucous membranes and also being very antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. So if there's inflammation in the lungs or in the digestive tract, this is one of the best herbs. It's also really good for killing bad bacteria in the gut. Now, you can overdo it. If you take too much golden seal for too long of a period of time, you might start to compromise your good gut bacteria. So here's one that I'd say take for 2 weeks max, and take breaks from it regularly. But this is one that's in our cold defense. It's a very powerful and amazing herb. There are some ethical harvesting issues around it. Golden seal was heavily used by the eclectics in the early 1800s and late 1800s and early 1900s. And it meant that a lot of the wild stands of golden seal became not extinct, but very endangered. So if you're working with golden seal, work with a company like Harmonic Arts, really, because we use only organic certified golden seal that's been farmed specifically for that reason. So it has no impact on the wider ecosystem. In fact, it encourages more of the stands of golden seal to regrow. So this is something that I would just look to sourcing when you were looking at herbs like this there's no herb like golden seal. I will say Oregon grape is another alternative that we can use. And we do put Oregon grape in a couple of our products because it does a great job of being that bitter that really supports the digestion, supports the liver function, and has that mucous membrane stimulation. So yeah, golden seal, coptis, Oregon grape, they all have barberini in it, and they're all really great herbs for this kind of mucous membrane stimulation. But when I was in herb school, we learned this as king of the mucous membranes was golden seal, because it really does a great job, and it's in our cold defense product. So Usnea is the other one, kind of one of the other sides to golden seal, and this one combats fever and inflammation. It also does a really good job actually externally for healing wounds. There's a loads to Usnea. I have a great video on my YouTube channel, the Herbal Jedi channel, if you want to check that out and learn a lot more about Usnea. It's really neat because it's a photosynthetic bacteria and a fungi and an algae all in one organism. Really, it's a symbiosis. They're all 3 different DNA strands or genetic, but they've symbiosed in a way that make them one. It has a really good ability to shut down bacteria's capacity to produce energy for itself. So where golden seal goes in and just takes the it has very antibacterial, Usnea stops bacteria from producing and reproducing. So it has another way of really working with that. It's also good for fungal infections and all kinds of deep and surface level immune stuff. So its center of gravity is the lungs. So I definitely would say Usnea's on top of my list for that kind of thing. So we use that as well in our cold defense to have 2 different aspects. But there's one more herb we put in there, and that is Osha, I think. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Osha and then go back to elderberry. It's in the antivirals here. Sorry. And Osha is also in the cold defense. And this is another antiviral, good for the lungs, really amazing respiratory tonic that's an antiviral one. So between Usnea, golden seal, and Osha, we have a really potent, well-rounded kind of version of supporting the overall immune system. To me, this is far better than just taking an echinacea golden seal product. To have these 3 kind of super powerful herbs to support our immune system makes just a big difference in that. This one's also in our lung and cough syrup, and it helps to cleanse the liver and really just sort of protect against all kinds of toxins. Osha grows in the high mountains. Again, another one we want to make sure is ethically worked with, and that's something that we've been really clear on with what we use with Osha. Okay, I'm going to go back one. I skipped ahead quickly. We were talking about herbal antivirals. So other herbs to think about are elderberry. This is a #1 studied herb when it comes to a viral load, especially for flus. For flu virus, there's actually been a number of studies done on flu vaccine versus elderberry, and the studies came back that elderberry was better. So, don't tell the pharmaceutical industry that, but a lot of people have been using elderberry for a long time, and it's very successful at killing off viral load. This is also something that people continually ask me about. Is this okay for COVID or post or long-term COVID and these kind of reoccurrence of it? And absolutely, elderberry is just really good viral support. And it's something that I would add into my strategy if I were looking at kind of reoccurring viral load, but it's ultimately best for right at that surface level of virus, right? It is more of a surface level herb, not that deep one. There's lots of other herbs like the Osha that goes a little deeper than elderberry. But this one also contains a lot of vitamin C and flavonoids and antioxidants, right? So all those other compounds we need. It's got antiviral and antimicrobial and antibacterial aspects to it. It is called or considered something that, this is a term that I like, it's called a biofilm disruptor. What does that mean? That means that it disrupts the biofilms of viruses. So we've all seen now viruses have these little spiky kind of coatings on them. Well, it ends up coating the spiky part so the lock and key doesn't quite fit into the cells. So it helps to support by protecting our internal cells, but also by stopping viruses from being able to lock into our cells. So it just is a really good, more like a Shaolin ninja kind of paintball coat type energy, that it's almost like 5-point punch and then the heart explodes. But maybe not. Maybe that's a little graphic, but you get the idea. Elderberry is a great herb for just kind of stopping viruses from being able to penetrate the cells in our body, to be able to see them. By painting them, our immune system has the capacity to recognize them and build antiviral antibodies for viral load. So we obviously do a straight up elderberry syrup. We also do an elder ginger syrup, which is my favorite personally, because I love that extra spice of the ginger as a circulatory stimulant and digestive and anti-inflammatory. So my recommendation, get the elder ginger syrup, but elderberry syrup is amazing on its own. Put it on your pancakes, put it in your cocktails. No, just there's lots of ways you can take it. Most people do it by the teaspoon though, or the tablespoon, or the shot glass. But it's also in our viral support tincture, and it's something you can totally do warm or cool. I like to do elderberry in my mulled spiced cider or a mulled wine. If you're doing that, add a shot of elderberry syrup in there. It's another herb that's in our defense artisan tea, which has echinacea and the elderberry and astragalus and ginger, and it's just a good tasting tea for immune support. It's one that can be decocted. Because it's a hard berry, you can simmer this. So you can make your own syrup by getting berries and slowly simmering them down and then adding honey to them, or maybe honey and alcohol if you want to preserve it for a longer period of time. Or you can just get Harmonic Arts elderberry syrup, where elderberry tincture is just another great add-in too. Okay, I talked about Osha. Again, one more thing I'll say about this is it's known as bear root, because the bears would dig this up to help their coughs and colds and lung and stuff, and just wake up their lungs and support their immune system. So yeah, it's not just used by humans. Let's go to deep level immunity. When it comes to deep level immunity, what are we trying to work with here? Well, we're working with herbs like astragalus that are much deeper. Again, lymphatic system, think of lymphatic drainage, think of deep lungs. This one's known as Huang Qi in Chinese medicine. It's a Chinese herb, and that means yellow qi. So it helps to support the mucous membranes, but it also is bacterial, antibacterial, and antiviral. And it really protects the cells from all kinds of free radical damage. And if you look into it, it's considered a bit of an adaptogen. Adaptogens are another class of herbs that work more on deep level stuff. They're not for surface level. And just to be clear, if I have a surface level infection, I don't want to go to deep level herbs. I want to work with surface level herbs because they're protecting me. If I can imagine my body was a castle, the echinacea and the golden seal and the usnea, they're like archers on the gates, whereas astragalus and medicinal mushrooms, they're more like the engineers building the walls and supporting with the moat. Now, maybe we're not castles, maybe whatever it is, they're the fortifiers. So this one fortifies the body, helps to deal with stress, helps increase longevity and just healthy cells in general. So it's another one that's in our artisan tea, the defense tea, but also it's in this tincture that I've been taking, immune depth, right? It's one of those deeper immune herbs that we would look to. Elecampane is one of my very, very favorite herbs. I just love the way this one tastes. I've given it to loads of people with asthma or allergies for that deep lung to help. If they're shallow breathers, just give them the Elecampane to give that deep breath. Works like a charm. I would also say that this is one that is for bronchitis and all that kind of deep lung stuff. It fights off bacteria and it really helps to ease chest congestion. It's in our lung and cough syrup, which is a favorite of mine. I really love that syrup. It's one of my, well, it's one of my go-tos. Typically, I don't have a bottle with me here, but typically I will take the whole bottle and it'll be mine and it's like a sipping cordial. Now, I'm not taking too much, but if I get a lung infection, I love to have a bottle of lung and cough syrup to just sip on, or if I get that tickle where I have that kind of constant kind of thing going on, then I'm going to use lung and cough syrup as just a great medicine. It's also in our breathe tea. And this is one that helps for not just seasonal chest infections, but also is good for like smoke. I've seen a lot of smokers use the breathe tea. And also during forest fire season, we had a lot of people find great results from our breathe tea, but really it's designed for that deep chest kind of tea. So whenever I've got pain in my chest or a chest infection, I'm always going to the breathe tea. And it's another one of the things about our teas that I love is they're all loose leaf. And so you can usually rebrew them 2 or 3 times and still get a lot of flavor and potency out of them. So don't forget, if you're a tea drinker, to rebrew these, especially the artisan teas from Harmonic Arts. They're nice. They're really nice, high quality tea cut. And so it's something you want to maximize those herbs by getting a second or third brew out of them. And typically how I do that is I leave a little bit of the first brew in the bottom and then add a lot more hot water. So I got some of that invigoration from the first brew and then just keep steeping it up. 1 cup out, 1 cup in. That's how I like to do tea. So a couple more here, antivirals, kind of also and deep immune is some of the medicinal mushrooms. So turkey tail is probably one of our favorites for the microbiome and helping for gut biome restoration. And we have a number of webinars on mushrooms, so I'm not going to take too long to talk about each mushroom, but just know that we've got lots of information on that. We are all fungis and fungals at Harmonic Arts, and we found the best quality mushrooms in the world. So this is one that we really like. Turkey tail is great as a tincture, but it's also amazing as a powdered extract or in a capsule or in a blend like our mushroom hot chocolate. It gently restores and modulates the immune response. So what does modulate mean? It means if you have autoimmune stuff, it brings it down. It lowers the immune system. If you have like deep immune or compromised immune stuff, it brings it up. So it's modulatory or modulates. Anyway, great herb or mushroom in that case. And I think of this as the great decomposer of the forest. So it really breaks down stuff in the forest. It does the same thing in our body. It helps to break down pathogens and break down what no longer serves us. It's in a bunch of different forms. Viral support, it's one of the main mushrooms. Well, it is the main mushroom in there. And then it's also on its own and in our mushroom blends. Chaga is another good one. That's what I'm drinking tonight. Love the chaga tea. I find it to be just one of the best phytonutrients there is. It's got a lot of different things in it. Like it says on the slide, 200 plus phytonutrients. It strengthens and restores our immune system. And it also is very anti-inflammatory and good for infections. So just a great herb to drink during the winter months. Get yourself a bag of chaga tea and rebrew that one up to 5 times. You can keep rebrewing it. I've got some nice black tarry chaga tea here. It tastes great. It has a vanillic acid in it. It has a beautiful flavor, and it's just a great base for winter immune success. So other ways you can do it is we do a chaga powder. That's like an instant tea. You can pick a little teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon of that, put it in a cup of water, and drink that. That's amazing too. It's high in antiviral terpenes, and it's also got some anti-tumoral aspects to it in some of the betulinic acid and other compounds that chaga produces or is in it. It's also really super high in antioxidants, and I think that's something that is something, again, to remind ourselves, how do we get more antioxidants in? What type of antioxidants can we get into our body this time of year? Chaga is a great one for that. We do a syrup of it on its own. That syrup is amazing on soda water. I gotta say, it makes like a chaga vanilla soda kind of drink, and it tastes yummy. But of course, you can get it in a tincture or a tea or a capsule or a powder form. We've got lots of ways you can work with chaga. Reishi. Ah, what is this one? This is my, it's hard to have a favorite mushroom, but I do have a 23-year-old daughter now named Reishi. And so I've liked this one a long time. And really, this is one of the oldest, kind of most heavily researched mushrooms on the planet, stimulating or modulating, sorry, the immune system, helping work with cardiovascular health, with cholesterol and heart health, also grounding. It's a very grounding adaptogen. So people who have anxiety or tension or insomnia, or even just like that asthma or allergies, this is a great one to help calm down those allergic response and work with just protecting the body in general. So love my reishi. It definitely would be, yeah, I would be going myself. Since we just mentioned 3 mushrooms, I would probably be going with that 5 mushroom blend. That's sort of one of my deep immune support kind of aspects that I go with. And so you can get this one again in a powder, a tincture, or it's in our immune depth, right? It's in that deep immune formula. So I talked a bit about tinctures. I've been taking a tincture. How do we work with these? So those are a couple of the herbs. I want to just also say that there's so many more immune herbs, but for the sake of your time and just kind of keeping this short and punchy, I'm just going to stick to a couple of herbs. There are plenty more. The thing when you're looking at your herbs to think about is it surface level that I'm working with, or is it deep level that I'm working with? And how do I pair the herbs to work with that right type of immune health? If you are working with tinctures, it's something that I think is the best way to get herbal medicine, especially for immune stuff, is because it extracts all those bioavailable compounds and it bypasses our digestion. If we're sick, we're often not eating as much. It's a great way to be just quickly absorbed and enter the system. Plus, all the bioactive compounds have a really long shelf life when preserved in alcohol, right? So just something to think about. You want to dose these in a couple of different ways. If you've got an acute situation, you might be taking 2 to 3 to 4 times the recommended on the label amount. You want to take more probably in acute situations, but for shorter periods of time. Whereas if you're looking at maintenance, which is more that deep immune stuff, you're often taking it, as the label says, slowly over a period of time, either as a protective thing for winter immune health, or if you're getting really deep and you got something like a cough or cold, yeah, then you might want to start to take that at a deeper level. So first time I'm getting sick, I'm going to be taking cold defense. If that sickness progresses and I don't get better, which it probably won't because I'm taking cold defense, so it should really help it, then I'm going to go to those mushroom tinctures, but that's after like a couple of weeks of being sick. Otherwise, I'm using those as my sort of immune depth will be the tincture that I'm going to take during the season, and same with mushroom tinctures. Okay, so we got mushrooms for immunity, we've got syrups, and we've got cough and cold, and that's it. I'm going to leave you with that. Thanks for joining me. I will just say that when it comes to choosing the right medicine, teas, tinctures, syrups, all of them are great. Which one are you going to use? Which one's going to be the easier for you to use? When it comes to kids, we might be thinking about, how do I work with a kid's health and they're not going to take this tincture, or I'm worried about the alcohol in the tincture. Maybe I'm going to a syrup. Although I will say the alcohol just tastes strong. It's not that much alcohol in a tincture. You're really, especially if you put it into a little bit of apple juice or water, you're going from what is usually 40% alcohol, but there's this much in there. There's much more alcohol in a ripe banana or an orange than there is in this dropper full of tincture. So yeah, something just to think about. But I might go to syrups. For my kids, often I give them lung and cough syrup and they love it and they're totally down. They'll take it anytime. Cold defense takes a little bit more getting used to and is a bit stronger. So before you go, I want to just let you know that we actually have a wellness bundle on right now. You're going to get an email with a follow-up from this webinar. And if you put in the code Winter Wellness into Harmonic Arts website, you're going to get 23% off the immunity bundle. And these are kind of some of the things we talked about. This is chaga, the 5 mushroom, the defense tea, the antiviral, the lung and cough. So these are all the things that are going to be in the winter bundle. And just to think about, if you want to kind of support your immune system during this time of the year, we've got a lot of ways you can do that. Pick and choose what is your favorite way to support your immune system. Also, know that you want to have a few things on hand for when things get worse, if they do, and in those acute situations. There's no point in ordering, say, cold defense when you're already sick. It's better to have it on hand ahead of time so that when you get sick, you can, like for me, I'll drink a bottle of cold defense in probably 4 days during the beginning of a cold, and then I won't need it again. It's that firewall to kind of protect against getting deeper immune issues. And I want to just say at Harmonic Arts, we've got loads of different resources. Our Instagram is chock full of recipes and fun ideas and how to work with plant medicine, as well as our website has all kinds of blogs and other webinars and lots more information for you to just tune in to what it is that is our offering. Check out our B Corp journey, check out our sourcing and quality control stuff that we do. Know that we're at the kind of growing edge of plant medicine and trying to make sure that we're bringing you the best, most high vibrational herbs, because we know that herbs only work if they're high quality and if you take them. So we both need to do our part when it comes to helping support the immune system. And your part is going to be some of those seasonal supportive things, as well as making sure if you are getting sick, you're taking good quality herbs to support you. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'm going to turn off my screen share and yeah, and we'll just go back to our regular bit. Okay, and maybe we can ask some Q&A if there are any questions. Make sure you put them in the Q&A, and I know there may not be any, but if you have questions around plant medicine or you want to ask mostly about winter health and so it's relevant for everybody else, please go ahead, raise your hand or ask in the Q&A. And
thank you,
I
Yarrow.
see, yeah.
Oh, hi, Yarrow. Thank you. That was fantastic. I did want to say that there is one question above what that was referring to when you were speaking about the respiratory herbs, and it was asking about where would mullein fit into this group of respiratory herbs.
Great. Yeah, like there's all kinds of ones, right? Like horehound and mullein and motherwort and cherry bark. Like there's a load of these respiratory herbs. So mullein is one that I find for more of an itchy, scratchy, sore throat. More of that kind of herb versus deep like elecampane. So elecampane being more that deep lung herb. Mullein is in our breathe tea. And it's definitely helpful for raspy throat, for sore throat, for that kind of dryness, right? So that's where I might go with mullein. Also, herbs like cherry bark would be good in there too. Any other questions?
Yeah. Yeah. Next question is, should you take mushrooms on and off or consistently?
Yeah, I mean that's a big one because like there's plenty of evidence of people taking them long term. I mean, my dad's a good example of taking mushrooms for 20 years straight every day. And if you go back to Chinese medicine wisdom, they are typically taken during the winter months, right? They're kind of like that winter immune support. My personal choice for mushrooms. So first off, to answer the question clearly, there is no issue with taking them every day. But, and this is the big but that I go to, I don't find it intuitive to take anything every day all the time. It's always good to take breaks from everything. And so I tend to go full on with mushrooms in September and take them for a good month during that first cough and cold flu season when everybody's going back to school and back to work and the seasons are transitioning. And anytime there is a big transition in the seasons, that's when I'm looking to mushrooms to support my overall health. So I'll usually do 3 or 4 rounds of medicinal mushrooms as a daily tonic throughout the year. So I might do September, I might do November, I might do January, I might do March, right? And that's not always every year, but I will kind of rotate throughout the year, taking little breaks. So that might be a month on, a month off. But the way we recommend is often 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Although with medicinal mushrooms, the caveat there is they don't work for their, like, I guess that immunomodulating effect all that well if you just take them short term. They really should be taken for 3 weeks minimum. So most traditional wisdom is recommending you take them for at least a month before you start to see the main benefits of a lot of the mushrooms. So yeah, you can totally take them all the time, but you don't need to.
Kind of adding on to that one, that question is also asking about Devil's Club.
So Devil's Club is it's not a herb that's very common anywhere outside of the West Coast. So really it's a West Coast herb. It is a traditional medicine out here. It does have some immunological support, but from my understanding of like just tuning in with Devil's Club, it's one of those ones that you don't want to harvest in the winter because it actually changes the flavor of it. And his traditional wisdom is not to harvest it during the winter months. Anytime after frost, you want to do it in the spring and in the fall. And fall Devil's Club tends to be better for the immune system, whereas spring Devil's Club tends to be better for cleansing. This herb is mostly known for as a protective herb, and again, looking to old world kind of intact traditional wisdom systems. A lot of like the idea of evil wind or of some kind of external influence, Devil's Club would be a great protective herb. It's one that definitely affects the lungs and definitely affects that area and is really good for blood sugar support. That's what it's classically being used for right now, is stabilizing blood sugar imbalances and hypoglycemia and diabetes. But yeah, it's a very protective herb. I consider it more of a spiritual herb than an immune herb in that sense. But yeah, if that was the case, also just a sort of caveat to not, like, this is one of these sacred herbs that should be honored and respected and treated as such. And so it's just something to keep in mind when we're tuning in with Devil's Club, that, it's sort of one of those herbs like sage that just has that kind of protective quality. Like sage wouldn't be considered a traditional immune herb, but yet sage is great in a throat spray. And sage is also that like smudging protection, right? So Devil's Club is in there in that kind of realm of herbs that might be used on more than just the physical level for protection.
Thank you. Next question is astragalus okay to take at any time? I heard it should be avoided during an illness since it can drive it deeper. Just wondering your take on it.
Great question. Yeah, it depends on if it's paired with other herbs. So if astragalus is paired in a tea blend or a tincture blend, it's not going to drive something deep into the system, right? If it's paired with other surface level immune herbs, as an example. If you're taking astragalus on its own or a lot of it, yeah, what it's trying to do is work with that deep level immune health, right? So it's sort of like, let's just say you have 2 choices of vehicles. You have one that's really fast and it's going to get there fast, but you have one that's really slow and yet it's going to be more protected. So maybe, I don't know if this is a great analogy, but I'm imagining that like the golden seal is fast and it's kicking butt and it's going to get there. So it's like the tortoise and the hare kind of thing. In the end, the tortoise, who might go slow and steady, is going to support the overall health. But in the pinch, you want the hare to run the fast lane. So if you're in a surface level immune attack, aka pathogens coming at you, you're getting sick, astragalus is not the herb of choice. It's telling your body, let's work on the engineering, let's work on the deep level stuff. So it's not that it drives it deeper into the system. It's more that it tells the body to focus on the deep level stuff. I saw a great kind of Instagram thing about when it's just a funny thing, and I'm just going to rant for a second here about when this wife asks this husband to like help out because company is coming, and he goes and starts to trim the trees, and it's like, no, 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 don't trim the trees. I want you to help out because company's coming. He's like, oh, well, he starts working in the attic, and it's like, no, don't work in the attic. The company's coming. So he says, do some vacuuming. So he starts vacuuming the attic, and it's just ironic because the surface level thing that's happening is company's coming, let's tidy and clean the house. But his intuition is to go to the deep level stuff that needs to be done. So astragalus might send you down the wrong track, if that's a long-winded way of saying so.
Thank you, Yarrow. That is it for this evening, and I hope everyone enjoyed themselves.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you all for joining us, and don't forget to type in that winter wellness. I'm just going to go to that last slide, and to this one, the winter wellness bundle for 23% off at the website. And just also remember to give us a tune in on Instagram and let us know, what is your favorite immune herb? What is your favorite way to support your immune system? Give us a shout out on our socials, review some of our products, and let us know what your favorite product is. Okay. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night, and we will be getting back to you in an email follow-up. And yeah, just hope you are well nourished throughout this season and just have good support for your immune system. Ciao for now.